William Wilberforce, born on the 24th of August 1759 and passing away on the 29th of July 1833, was a really important person in Britain who worked to make society better. He did many good things, like fighting against slavery, promoting education, spreading Christianity, being very strict about what's right, and taking care of animals. Wilberforce strongly believed in ending slavery, and he's remembered for actively convincing the government to make a law against trading slaves. He died in 1833, just 3 days after the government passed the Slavery Abolition Act, 1833, which stopped slavery in the British Empire completely. William Wilberforce was born in Hull to a wealthy family. When he was young, he went to live in London with some relatives who had different beliefs from the usual. He really liked their way of thinking, and he grew very close to them. But when he turned 12, his mother took him back to Hull. She wanted him to follow the regular Anglican church way and didn't want him to be brought up with the different beliefs of his other relatives in London. When William turned 18, he went to St. John's College at Cambridge University. As a student, he enjoyed a carefree life, and his earlier strong religious beliefs became less intense. He became quite active in university social life. But he didn't really join in with some of the excessive partying that his fellow students did. While he wasn't the best student, he had inherited some money, so he didn't feel the need to study very hard. He was well liked. He was really good at talking and had a lovely singing voice too. It was during his time at Cambridge that he became friends with William Pitt the Younger. This William Pitt later became a prime minister, and he remained a good friend and mostly supported William throughout his life, except for a time when they had a disagreement about politics during the war with France. As his time at university was ending, William decided to enter politics and run for parliament. He spent £8,000 to win a seat in his hometown Hull, becoming a member of parliament at just 21 years old. He chose to be on his own rather than join a big party, but he mostly aligned with the reform-minded part of the Tory party. After being a part of Parliament for 4 years, William went on a trip to Europe with his sister and mother. It was during this trip that he felt his religious beliefs coming back. Reading a special religious book called Rise and Progress of Religion in the Soul played a big role in this. It inspired him to lead a more religious life, like waking up early to read the Bible. He stopped playing card games and drinking as well. From then on, he was a dedicated Christian, and his faith really changed the way he saw things. When he came back to England, he had a conversation with John Newton, who was an important person in the Anglican Church. This talk made him even more committed to his religious life. But it also encouraged him to stay in politics and keep working to make society better. Soon after this significant period of change in 1786, Wilberforce was asked to play an active role in the movement to end slavery. The important people leading the fight against slavery, like Thomas Clarkson, wanted Wilberforce to be the face of their efforts in passing new laws in the Parliament. Even though Wilberforce really cared about their goals, he wasn't sure he could do it at first. But after thinking it over, he chose to take on the campaign wholeheartedly. After the successful efforts by the Committee for the Abolition of the Slave Trade to make people aware of the terrible conditions of slaves, William Wilberforce felt inspired to take action in 1789. In that year, Wilberforce spoke in the House of Commons. He argued strongly that slavery was very unfair and went against the basic principles of treating all humans with respect. He spoke from his heart, showing just how much he cared about the issue. Even though many members of parliament were in favor of the bill, those who were against it were very organized. They gathered more votes, with 163 people voting against the bill compared to 88 who voted in favor. After spending a whole year making people aware of the issue, Wilberforce tried again the next year. But the people against ending slavery were still very organized. They used a clever trick to delay the decision and keep slavery going for an indefinite time. When war broke out with France in 1793, the mood shifted against the idea of stopping the slave trade. People who supported ending it were sometimes labeled as troublemakers. The country became very cautious due to the fear of invasion, and in this atmosphere of worry, not many people cared about freeing the slaves. However, as the early 1800s arrived, things started to look better again. After William Pitt passed away in 1806, Wilberforce gave it another shot. This time, they used a clever strategy. They made a rule that slave owners couldn't trade slaves with the French colonies. The aim was to hurt their business and weaken the ship owners who supported slavery. This idea came from a lawyer named James Stephen who knew about ships. The rule said that ships couldn't help the French trade in slaves. This rule became a law and put an end to 75% of the slave trade effectively. In 1807, something very important happened. The important people in the Lords and the Commons agreed and passed the Slave Trade Act. Surprisingly, Wilberforce played a big role and got 283 votes in favor while only 16 were against. This was a huge achievement for him and a big step towards making a change. The law that was passed only said that trading slaves is not allowed. But many slaves in the British Empire were still not free. So, for the rest of his life, William Wilberforce kept working to make things better for slaves in Africa and other places. Just a few days before he passed away, he got to know that on the 26th of July 1833, the Slavery Abolition Act had finally passed after being discussed 3 times. This new law made slavery illegal in most parts of the British Empire. It took about 10 more years for India to also be free from slavery. Even though we mostly remember him for his work against the slave trade, William Wilberforce also cared about many other important issues. He worked to make prisons better, to improve education, and to help missionaries in India. He also paid attention to public health matters. But he didn't support trade unions, and he wasn't for women's rights either. William's personal life was greatly influenced by his strong religious beliefs. He got married later in life to Barbara Ann Spooner, who was very devoted. They had 6 children over the span of 10 years.